Okay, we had to restart the podcast. We had some technical difficulties. The wireless internet at the school I go to went down completely, and then it sounded like the stream followed that. Hopefully, we're back up and good now. We should be rolling from here. It's the SFL podcast for those of you just tuning in, possibly. This is the third episode, second season, also known as Season 9, right after the Week 1 slate. I'm your host, Andy. Mighty's with me, as always. We got Alex Bond, and then the owner of the Mexico City Aztecs, Ramos Lynn, is here. Ramos, how you doing, man? I haven't got to say hi to you.
I'm pretty good, man. Thank you for having me.
Of course, anytime. All right, well, let's get rolling. Mighty, where did you guys leave off?
We were in the midst of breaking down the Tallahassee-Baltimore game, that crazy almost comeback by Baltimore, where Tallahassee was able to eke out a field goal as time expired to win the game.
Okay, yeah, let's jump right into it and get going. So here, I'll put that game up. If someone wants to take the reins and give us their thoughts on the game, we can go from there.
Ramos, did you get a chance? Ramos, did you have a chance to watch the game?
Yes, I had a chance to watch the game.
What do you think?
You know what you're going to get with Tallahassee and Baltimore. You're going to get two very good offenses. You're going to get two very good running backs every season. Imagine it with a silver running back. Jake Calvin Kim was fantastic as a gold. He's going to be one of the best players overall in the SFL this year. And that's what you get with Tallahassee every year. You get a charismatic Frank Gooden. Shout out to Frank Gooden. And you get a good offense every season. So to beat Tallahassee all season long is going to take at least 35 points because they're just too good of an offense. It can be crazy sometimes. So as far as Baltimore goes, very good effort, 37 points against very good teams, not easy. And they're going to be a very, very good team this year, Baltimore, know that.
Yeah, from what I saw, this was a battle between these two teams. I mean, look at that, over 900 yards of offense with both of them. That's incredible. Both teams had good days passing, good days running the ball. It was an all-out battle. I mean, look at that, no interceptions for Tallahassee. You had 4 coming from Baltimore. So you kind of had your both hands in the pot here in terms of the passing game. Running games for both teams was pretty solid. And this one came down to the wire, man. And like Ramos was saying, I think both of these teams will have good years. But, on this day at Old Bay Stadium, Tallahassee got the better of the Crabs. Now, if these two teams play again in the season, will it be the same outcome? I'm not 100% sure, but I don't think we can discredit the Crabs for a strong showing against Tallahassee, who came out firing, man. All right, Alex, Mighty, did you guys get your piece in about this game, or do we want to continue, or should we move on to the next week?
I got mine in. Alex got his in a little bit as well. So if you'd like to touch on the next thing, that'd be awesome.
Sure. Let's head back to the home page, and then we'll go from there. Have you guys discussed the Houston-Sioux Falls game?
No, we have not.
All right. Well, let's go to that one next. Houston edges out Sioux Falls 33-27. It looked like the Sparrows were putting the comeback on late in this game. Couldn't get it done, though, and Houston picks up their first win in the Western Conference. Mighty, this is your second year in the Western Conference. Talk to me a little bit about what Houston puts on every year and how big it is to get an opening day win for them.
Houston facing that stacked secondary in Sioux Falls. The fact that Cody Cantrell was able to have a clean game with no turnovers afforded Houston to be able to always play ahead of the sticks, where the field position battle was theirs. I believe it was something to the point where they started the average start point was the 40, and Sioux Falls was around 25 or something. And Andy, as I've explained to you about special teams, that is gigantic. The extra 15 yards for your defense to have to cover makes it so much easy. Well, not so much easier, but it allows for them to an amount of cushion where, you know, if they make one mistake, it's not an automatic 7. They have a chance to kind of come back and gather themselves to get a stop and force a punt, as opposed to get a stop and then the other team's in field goal range where they get an easy 3. So Cody Cantrell remaining clean that game, and then the new boy on the block, William Choice doing his thing, caught a little swing pass and rolled out to the sunset, did his thing on the ground running the ball as well, and Sioux Falls seemed like they could never get their game plan going.
Right.
It seemed like they were stuck in mud a little bit. Like every time it was about to start to get going, 4th down. Every time it seemed, 4th down, as opposed to being able to convert those 3rd downs, keep drives going, be able to tack on touchdowns, and that kind of was, how they lost the game. The fact that they weren't able to keep the chains moving and get points out of those drives.
Right. Ramos, you have been in the West longer than me and Mighty combined. Sioux Falls moves over to the West this year as their first kind of, year moving to a different conference. Their opening, Mighty was talking about their offense didn't get going and how Tyree kind of didn't look like himself. The 2 interceptions, both going to Blake Chance. Do you think this is kind of a statement for what their season will look like, or do you think they'll be able to bounce back from this loss to Houston?
No, they will be. They will most definitely bounce back. One thing that really kind of surprised me was Cody Cantrell, no interceptions, and Houston will need more of that. Impressive showing by Houston, defeating a very good Sioux Falls team. But I don't think that Sioux Falls is going to be like that for the entire season. I still think that Sioux Falls is going to be one of the tougher teams in the SFL to beat. I think they're still going to be in the playoffs, and they're going to be a threat in the playoffs as they always are. So this is not going to be the Sioux Falls we'll see all season long. Good win by Houston, but I think that Sioux Falls will most definitely bounce back and be a contender.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you on that sentiment there. I had penciled Sioux Falls into the playoffs in the Western Conference in my book, and I think they'll be there as well. But in terms of this game, these two teams were very similar. Look at that, 408 versus 407 total yards. Come down to time of possession, you're talking mere seconds in terms of difference. Just an incredibly close game between these two. Really a battle. And like the Tallahassee-Baltimore game, I think this is one where you play it 10 times and you have 5 different outcomes. One team wins 5 times, one team wins another 5. Alex, what stuck out to you as a newcomer to the league about this game?
I think what's really interesting about this game in particular is that Sioux Falls, statistically, when you look at stuff like 3rd down conversions and 1st downs, they really did better than Houston. That they got 67% of their 3rd downs, but they didn't get it. They didn't convert when it counted.
And like the Tallahassee, right? I think that's a fair point.
Right.
Yeah, I think both of these teams are going to have long seasons ahead of them, and I think both are going to, like Ramos said, are going to be fighting for playoff spots near the end of the season, near Week 11, Week 12. Let's go ahead and head back. Let's look at another game we might not have looked at. San Antonio and Oklahoma City we have not touched on, I would assume.
No, we have not.
This was a battle, guys. I might have been the only one watching this live out of the 4 of us because I got Oklahoma City next week, so that was the one game that I was focused hard on. And, man, Michael Irvine was, as Ramos and Mighty know, was a little taken aback by the comments that people have made against the Renegades this season and the way that we might have talked about how Oklahoma City didn't look anything too amazing to us. But he came out firing, man. 207 passing yards for San Antonio. Oklahoma City, 238. 138 yards on the ground for Brewski. They're 1 for 1 on 4th downs. 23 minutes worth of possession yields 28 points, and they beat the Vaqueros 28-17 in San Antonio's first game. Here's really the tale of the tape is Langdon's 3 interceptions that he threw. I believe his first throw was a pick as well. And Oklahoma City just converted off of those. Red Feather only throws 5 incompletions, 1 pick there, so 4 incompletions on a 238-yard, 1-touchdown day for him. Bovine gets going, 13 receptions, 161 yards. Wieland got some effort, some traffic, 2 catches, 41 yards for him. Oklahoma City balled out, and San Antonio had a tough time kind of keeping them focused. The Vaqueros played well, I thought, but not enough to get the job done against the Renegades. Ramos, you've played your fair share of games against Michael Irvine in the Western Conference. Do you think this year is the real deal for him, or do you think this was just a game against a San Antonio team that was, had some preseason jitters?
This is the Oklahoma City Renegade team that I've been waiting to see since season 3. A team that whenever I came in the league, season 3, it was Pete Bruschi, it was Pete Bruschi, it was Pete Bruschi again, and just defenses got tired at the end of it, and that leaves the door open rather to the passing game. This is a Tiberius Bovine that I was expecting to see since last season, and this is just an Oklahoma City Renegade team that will be very, very good this season. He's a contender, I think. And I was watching closely to the game because I play the Vaqueros actually next week, this upcoming week. And for San Antonio, it's just regrouping. Is just, they have the tools to be a contender as well. But Oklahoma City Renegades, very impressed. Joseph Redfeather, yeah, you're going to get that interception of Joseph Redfeather, but 5 incompletions only is pretty impressive. So I love what I saw from the Oklahoma City Renegades, and the Vaqueros. They will be a good team as well.
Yeah, both teams had a tough battle. Alex, let's go to you. Did you get to look at this game at all? And if so, what did you think about these two squads? Obviously, San Antonio is new to the league, so I know a lot of people were interested to see what they brought to the table. Both these teams actually have fullbacks, which was one thing that interested me. What interests you about this game?
The catch about interested me is Oklahoma City. We're sitting here talking about Pete Bruschi, but in these opening drives, the real unsung hero was Joseph Redfeather to Tiberius Bovine. On their first drive, Oklahoma City passed almost every time and ran it like twice. And, this is a team, obviously, 2 tight ends and a fullback, and their star players. They're running the ball. They're going to. But when you can run and pass, Woody Hayes is rolling in his grave. You have to do 3 out of the pass, and then you can run and you can pass again. But, of course, tight ends, and I think Oklahoma City did a good job doing just that.
Yeah, I think you make a fair point, and in that, they've utilized their tight ends in order to get them down the field, and they're utilizing Bruschi the same way that like Ramos said, that we've been seeing him be used since season 3. The defense is also balling out, 3 picks for them between Cam Michael Savage and Billy Joe Casper. The Vaqueros just kind of look like they might have needed another week to prepare, possibly. But I don't know if this is a team that we're going to see go away anytime soon. Jennings coming over from Sioux Falls, 5 catches, 67 yards for him, but he couldn't find the end zone. Mighty, talk to me a little bit about the Vaqueros team. What did you see that you liked? What did you see that you think might be an area of concern?
I wouldn't say it's an area of concern per se, but I will say that this is one of those instances where styles make fights kind of things. And what do I mean by that is that Oklahoma City's base defense, they're a team that relies heavily on the 4-4, where they bring their safety down as a pseudo linebacker and kind of clogs up running lanes so that way force you into 3rd and longs where Billy Joe Casper is roaming back there, and me and Billy Joe, I always say if you get loose with the football around Billy Joe, he won't make you pay kind of deals. where San Antonio Stars are basically two backs, two receivers, and a tight end, and the fact that they never really got out of that to kind of permit them to kind of get OKC, to give OKC a wrinkle that they don't expect and get them out of their comfort zone, kind of was one of the main things that hurt them. So the fact that every formation that they deployed that game basically fell right to OKC's wheelhouse, where they never had to get out of their favored front, and play basically the same 5 or 6 base plays that they rely upon, and they fell right into the trap. And same thing on defense. San Antonio runs, basically nickel all the game long. That's what their build kind of it forces them to do, for lack of a better term. And OKC, if you're light in the box, Brewski's gonna hurt you. Now, understand that he's a umpteenth generian, but that doesn't mean that he still can't hurt you with his legs. And then when you get, have to overcommit, bodies in the box to stop him, Tiberius is an animal in the passing game. And I'm just glad that this year, at least he's off to a strong start. Let's see if he could keep that going. But, being of that size and that speed, he is a mismatch because he's too big for corners and safeties. He's too fast for linebackers. And that's what he showed this game. I believe the first play from scrimmage, he caught a little 5-yard out and turned that thing up for 25. And that big man was moving.
He's looking like Jerry Rice out there.
You know what I'm saying? So, if OKC, if Papa Irvine has found the secret sauce, I don't envy anybody that gotta play them. Sorry, Andy. So I'm just, hey, I'm happy for Papa Irvine. I'm not worried about Corky. Corky knows his game in and out. I know he will make the adjustments necessary for his team to be competitive this upcoming week. But just coming into this game, the game plan he put together just fell into OKC's wheelhouse, and that's why OKC dominated and basically pulled the game out. Because I believe at one time OKC was up 21-0. Because basically it's almost like they were in San Antonio's locker room and knew what plays were going to be run. Like, oh, these guys, hey, they're going to run an out route this one, sit on it, and the interception is like, how they know? Because they never got them out of their wheelhouse.
I'd like to just note one other about Arrows. It's some, when you see this game out, we don't have control over certain things. And one of those things is when our quarterback throws a pick. I have to wonder how much this Vaqueros team was affected by the fact that their turnover margin was -2 in this game. Like that can wreck your team if you turn the ball over 3 times through the air.
Yeah, I think the turnovers are something that we've seen really affect teams in week 1. And, it's something that last season we knew affected different teams. Ramos, you mentioned that you are taking on San Antonio. I am actually taking on Oklahoma City. So let's go ahead and get to the matchup that, it kind of sets the table for those two matchups there. It was a beating on Monday night where Vancouver fell to Mexico City in Mexico City, the first game internationally, and Ramos held nothing back, 34-13 in favor of the Aztecs. Alex, what did you get out of this game that was live called by our good friend Curtis?
Honestly, what I saw from this game is Vancouver fundamentally never seemed too bad. The real issue is that whenever they needed to make a play, they just didn't have one in them. It was just one of those situations where on first and second down, we got these nice little plays, but I know it's 3rd and 4, and quarterback throws an incompletion. Well, now you got a punt, and you just can't do that all the game. And to top it all off, Mexico City's offense was churning 28 points in the first half. 28-3 is that deadly score. And it just, after that first half, it's just Mexico City didn't even have a very good second half. They only scored two field goals, I believe. But Vancouver could just never get the ball rolling when they needed to.
Fair points. Mighty, do you want to go ahead and give your 2 cents as the only other man in the room that will be what's the word I'm looking for?
Biased or partisan?
Yeah, non-partisan was the word I was going for.
And basically echo the same statements that Alex said. Y'all got into third and manageable a lot, and it seemed like y'all could not find that special matchup to take advantage of, to convert on a regular basis, which in turn put your defense on the field way too much. And that's when, at Orb Dad, Ray Bentley just kept pounding and pounding and pounding, and just wore the Legion defense down. And then being down that much with the bronze quarterback experience going on over there, man, it was not a recipe for success there. So hopefully you put a game plan together this week where when you get those third and manageables, you're able to convert. When keep Ivan churning those legs, to kind of keep the team balanced, because the last thing you want to do is to get into a shootout, because I don't like the Legion's chances in the shootout, because the quarterback there is not, he's not as good as he can be. Now, mind you, this is only one game. So I have a minuscule sample size to say that about. From what I've seen, shootouts aren't going to be the thing that the Legion want to be involved in. They want to be involved in grind out battles, keep the game close, make the other team, force the other team to kind of beat themselves, and then, be able to pull one out in the fourth quarter. But,
oh, sorry.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I feel like part of this is you look at Vancouver's offensive makeup. They have 3 star receivers, 2 silvers, 1 gold, but a bronze quarterback with a gold running back. So it feels like Vancouver wants to run the ball, but they also want to pass. But, with that bronze quarterback, they don't want to pass too much. It almost feels like they want to play, back in the 70s with these big play action passes to take advantage of the wide receivers. But I think that's coming back to what we were saying, I feel like the bronze quarterback, what's his name, Tom Pepper, was called upon too often to make a play when the plays they needed should have come from Ivan Sanchez at running back.
I would agree with you, Alex. I think our goal going into the game was to feed Avon, and he, when we called upon him, he did his job. 6 yards per carry, 144 yards was definitely what we needed out of the run game. Passing game, I don't think we played terribly. The 3 interceptions is really the blemish, and then Tom's completion percentage was not the greatest. But if you look at our receiver stats, 6 receptions for Cade, 3 for Mike Lowry, and he did his job from a tight end position. Brett, 4 receptions, 60 yards, gets the touchdown. So, there were some pieces I think that we could build upon, but I agree, we shouldn't be throwing the ball 33 times. That a part of that was a product of getting behind so early. Like you said,
freak out the AI.
Right, like you said, we weren't necessarily in the position to be able to run the ball, unfortunately, as much as we would have liked going down so early. Going down 28-0 by the half, 28-3 if you count the field goal we had. And then on the defensive side of the ball, I still don't think we played poorly. I think our game plan was more of to keep Matt Wilson from throwing all over us, and then hope that we could come up and make the plays on Bentley that we needed. From the information that we had on Ramos from previous seasons, he was more the Aztecs and Matt Wilson were more of a passing team with a running threat on the side as kind of an appetizer. And so we expected nothing less than that. And, you know, for the record, I think we did an okay job of keeping Wilson from going too crazy. The 2 touchdowns is really the part that I don't like. I'm fine with that completion percentage, and I'm fine with that yardage total. But, you know, obviously you don't want those 2 touchdowns. And then Bentley was really what I think kind of did us in. 25 carries only, but for 254 yards is too much.
2 yards per carry.
Right, but you know, I think it's something we can build upon and something that, you know, moving forward, I'm not too worried about. Ramos, your thoughts on the game and how your team played?
Obviously happy by the victory. Always good to get a win week 1. But this is a clear case of a game that could have gone either way. Have just a couple plays gone a little bit different. We were very, very lucky to tackle Sanchez all game long at first contact, pretty much, because there were sometimes there was, you know, there were one-on-one situations with a corner, with a safety, with a linebacker, and thankfully our guys were able to make the tackles. Otherwise, you see Ivan Sanchez 60 yards touchdown, 55 yards touchdown, because it happened. I will say a handful of times, and I will call it right now. Ivan Sanchez is going to be one of the better running backs in the league. He's going to be one of the offensive rookie of the year candidates by the end of the season, and I think that he will get about 2 or 3 200-yard games this season because he runs hard, he is fast, and he runs hard again. And just very lucky we were able to tackle him and somewhat contain Ivan Sanchez. And as far as the offense goes, impressed by Ray Bentley's performance. Honestly, I was not expecting that. 254 yards. Matt Wilson on the passing game, we did what we needed to do, nothing flashy. 143 yards, but he had a clean sheet. And on defense, very happy with the performance of the defense as well. Devin Cabrera, 10 tackles. Zamora played great. He got injured. They came back. Chase Story, our linebacker, he's replacing Afolabi, which is those are not easy to fill. Those are not shoes easy to fill. But he did a great job, 1 interception as well. So very happy with the win, but Vancouver will be back for sure.
All right, fair enough. Let's get going. Mighty, have we gone over your game yet, or is that the last one we need to take care of?
That is no. We got Chicago and Cleveland, and then my matchup with the Roughnecks.
Okay, let's get to the Alaska-Dallas game going first here. Alaska wins the shootout 33-24. Man, Mighty, I'm going to be honest with you. When I was calling the game, I thought Synergy might have that last drive in him. Luckily for your defense, it doesn't work out that way. The boys are on the defensive side of the ball were able to get the stops that you needed to keep Dallas from getting in the end zone again. Denali was kind of your hero. 4 made field goals from 47 being the long. Kickers still do matter. Cochran kind of your spoil spot there. 3 interceptions, but a pretty good completion percentage. Yards were okay. Odom played well. 36 carries for 6.4 yards per carry. Those are good numbers. To kind of replace Beakley, I thought he did a good job. I thought the Dallas team, played well, but just not well enough. They needed a little bit more out of Synergy. 30 for 49, I don't think gets it done on a normal day for this Dallas attack. I think they need a few more completions from him. And then, his interception was early in the game, and I thought he bounced back well from that. That's really all I have to say about that. Ramos, do you want to touch on Steve and Mighty's game?
Yes, absolutely. This is a game. I was surprised by the play calling of the Dallas Roughnecks. I believe everybody was surprised to see Shabazz Synergy. Yep. That's a great name. I'm sorry. That's a great name. I don't want to butcher. He ran the ball how many times? Like a good handful of times?
From here, I have 12. Yep.
12 times. Okay. So 12 times. And he was effective. 34 yards, 2.8 yards a carry. That ain't bad for a quarterback. And obviously a rushing touchdown. impressed with the defense. Troy Shaw, one of the better free safeties, if not the best free safety the SFL has to offer. Jace Jefferson, obviously, and when you look at it, Dallas, you have to consider Dallas to be the best secondary in the SFL. And I will say it, I don't want to, be a homer, but Mexico City, we have two very good safeties. But when you look at the Dallas Roughnecks, you're not going to pass the ball a lot against the Dallas Roughnecks, and they're going to be one tough team to beat. Juan Bosco didn't have a flashy stat line, but really didn't matter. I mean, J.J. Howland, Miles Morales, they're going to be very good, and they're going to be very good all season long. They're going to bounce back. I mean, it's one game that you see the Dallas Roughnecks, and they're not going to lose many games.
Yeah, I agree. I think Dallas will definitely bounce back from this one, and quickly with that. I think Synergy doesn't have many more bad games in him, and that receiver core is strong, and that secondary is strong, like Mighty was saying. They'll definitely bounce back. Alex, what are your thoughts on the game between these two teams?
I like this Dallas team. I think what they are going with their setup is very interesting. Rush for 1,000. I think they're always looked at it and said, why are we wasting our running back? Let's just take another tight end. Because they and score, and they just couldn't do that.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. It sounds like he's breaking up a little bit. The Dallas attack was more of a pass-oriented. It looks like Alaska got a lot of what they wanted to do in terms of shutting down that pass. 7 pass deflections, no picks. But, they did what they needed to do in terms of shutting down Synergy just enough, keeping him with those 19 incompletions and that one pick that he had at the beginning of the game. Sacked 4 times. I think that's a big number with Dominguez that you're talking about here. So, yeah, all good points. Mighty, how did you think from an owner standpoint, how did you think you did?
We kind of came into this season. It's funny because I run into Big Sexy every day, all day at work. I got everybody at the job calling him Big Sexy because he is Big Sexy. He's my coworker. Coming into the season, when we saw Dallas was number 1, he was going to be our first opponent on the schedule. We're like, oh my gosh, we get revenge a little bit for last year's loss. That when our quarterback literally just threw the game away when we had a chance for a last-second drive to get Denali enraged to kick a field goal to send us to a championship, matchup against Queen City. So, the fact that we're able to kind of get that sour taste out of our mouths week 1, we prepped like nobody's business, and then we saw Dallas's Bills where they did not carry a star running back. We're like, what? I'm like, Big Sexy, you see that? You don't got to worry about no running games. Like, what? Oh, I'm going to hit that quarterback a lot. And that was our game plan coming into the game. We said whatever running yards they got, they could have. Because every time they dropped back to pass, somebody was going to hit somebody's going to hit Synergy one week. Game plan into it, blitzes, put in there just in case. He kind of felt comfy in the pocket, and then
Mighty?
Yeah, it sounded like he went down, but yeah, all good points. Alaska really let it fly in terms of this game on the defensive side of the ball. Offensive, I think this was something we kind of saw strong was the run game, and Ash Odom did what he needed to do. So yeah, a good win for Alaska, but one I think that Mighty, it's not too often saying that on the offensive side of the ball they might want a little bit more out of the passing game.
If I could just say, can be heard, internet.
Yeah, what's up, Alex?
The second.
He's trying so hard.
they don't have any, silver and golds in the front seven, and I wonder how much that contributed to Odom's high rushing total to this game.
Yeah, that's a fair point. I think the two linebackers did a okay job of getting some tackles when they needed it. But, like you were mentioning, both bronzes there. So, how many of them really were able to keep that from Ash Odom from being a factor? So, yeah, that's something Dallas will have to work with when they're facing rushing teams in the front seven. And we'll see how they handle it in terms of the future. So the last game of the week that we haven't touched on was Chicago taking on Cleveland. Mac Wavy Jr. coming over from Dallas to Cleveland as a coach. His first game as a coach and Shan's first game as an owner. Chicago gets the better of Cleveland 28-23 in a game that started off on the wrong foot for Cleveland, and the consistency of Chicago was able to beat out Cleveland there despite that fourth quarter 14 points, trying to get back into the game. For me, my interesting point here was the lack of run yards from either team. 46 for Chicago, 45 for Cleveland. Both teams going straight to the air heavy. I wonder how that will affect their future weeks and how, it'll kind of play out in terms of how teams will defend these teams. Because right now, if you're facing this team next week, you're thinking nothing but pass game. 53 attempts for Mac Wavy Jr., 40 for E.T. King. 7 interceptions between the two of them. So if you're an opposing team, it looks to me like you're thinking about how to defend the pass and not really worrying too much about the run just yet. Let's head to Ramos because he's been sitting quietly and hasn't been breaking up. Ramos, what did you think about the game?
Very impressed with Chicago's defense. From Cleveland's standpoint, Mac Wavy 53 passes, and David Overstreet didn't get the ball much, only 17 carries. So out of the 70 plays, 53 passes. That's not going to help much, especially when you throw 2 interceptions, being Cleveland. And Chicago, just very impressive defensively. Both teams at some points offensively were stalling, some play calling where you're scratching your head. So those two teams will have the playbook correct, and if they do, they're going to be dangerous. I really like Chicago's offense, how they employed Shane Warner. I think Shane Warner had a great game. And on Cleveland's standpoint, Mike Wave is a great quarterback. You have a great core of receivers. You have Prince Escobar, you have Clint Starbuck, you have Lorenzo Allen. They're fantastic, but you have to employ a little bit more of David Overstreet, who's one of the better running backs in league history. The defense of Cleveland, very good as well. I really like to see Aaron Tolbert and Koma Kaleka. They're going to be good no matter what team they are, no matter of the scheme, no matter if they're in Cleveland or Las Vegas, or if they are in Louisville, or if they are in Minneapolis. They're going to be very good players. So overall, I see a lot of potential in these two teams, but they do need to polish some things, I think.
Yeah, very good points. I think Chicago has all the weapons they need to have a great season, and they utilize them well. But you make a good point in saying that Cleveland, has a lot of weapons themselves. It's just how they use them. Escobar with a 100-yard game, Flynn Starbuck, a 100-yard game. These are good guys. I think if you get Overstreet involved in that offense, you might see a different fold coming out. Mighty, did we get you back from the aliens? Are you able to comment on the game?
Can you hear me? Am I back?
Yep, you're there.
Yes, sir.
I guess I was getting too long-winded about my team. I'm sorry. Yeah, in watching that Cleveland game, Cleveland, something looks weird with their running back. He doesn't run the same. I understand that he's not as, he doesn't have that elite gold status like he's used to having. But he didn't run with any assertiveness. It'd be second and short, third and short, and he was struggling to get back to the line of scrimmage, let alone convert. And so, you know, when they were forced to, you know, to punt, and Chicago turned around and they were just mowing down the field like it was nothing. Like, hey, we got this. You know, let's run the rock, make it look easy. Let's throw the rock, make it look easy. Like. And but then, you know, Cleveland kind of made it a game late because, you know, they had to rely on Mac Wavy's golden arm, and we all know Mac Wavy, former, you know, championship game MVP, he got it in him. They have to more like they have to establish what they're going to be. Are they going to be a team that's balanced? Or are they going to be a team that, you know, sprinkles in a run here and there to keep people honest? But where Mac Wavy will be the one, you know, kind of being the best, the dominating, you know, being the Peyton Manning over there and controlling the line of scrimmage and dictating matchups, you know, on the defense and pointing out who's going to do what, and then, you know, throwing the ball over the field. And then when the defense gets too pass defense heavy, that's when Overstreet will get in there and do a little damage here and there. But Overstreet just looked funny to me that first game.
Yeah, I'm with you there, Mighty. I think, you know, we saw out of him as well as, you know, Deion Hawkins. It was kind of a game for both of them that, you know, they couldn't really get anything going. 21 carries for Hawkins yields him little, 17 for Overstreet. Both guys, you know, have to get more involved in terms of getting strong yards if these two teams expect to continue good showings like they had there. All right, let's get going to week 2. Wait, sorry, I didn't let Alex get in on this game. Yeah, Alex, go ahead and give us your thoughts on Cleveland and Chicago, if you don't mind.
All right, so my main focus with my thoughts in this game are Cleveland, and I really think the issue here was their game plan on offense. It's like they're trying to channel their inner Bill Walsh and do a whole bunch of little short, small passes to go down the field, but the issue is that the AI will either choose the run at the wrong time, because doing this requires a very balanced game plan, knowing what to do, or they'll just throw it incomplete, because the AI is a little wonky about that, I'd say. And Mac Wavy Jr. just, you know, he never chose the right target, it feels like, to keep the ball rolling. And then I think what's interesting is this game was, to me, could have been a lot more lopsided than it was, because Chicago threw 5 picks, and if they hadn't thrown so many turnovers, you know, I don't think Cleveland would have even had a chance. It would have been something more like 28-9.
Yeah, that's a fair point, and I think we'll do. You know, Shan, I know him personally from our time in Carolina, and I know him and Ethan are working furiously to get that interception number down for their week 2 battle. So speaking of week 2, let's get rolling into the second week's worth of games. Just shortly, we're going to talk about which game we think you know, will be the best matchup. Try to avoid your own game if you guys can. So Mighty, I know that Sioux Falls, Alaska game is looking strong, but please try and pick another one for yourself. For me, I like the Houston-Dallas game. I think the first game between that Texas trifecta of teams will be a bloodbath. I think Houston's coming off a strong week. Dallas is coming off one where they'd like to rebound a little bit. And as we saw last season, when Houston and Dallas meet, the dust flies. And I think it'll be the same this year. So I'm looking real forward to that game between Houston and Dallas. Ramos, which game are you looking most forward to in week 2?
Without a doubt, Queen City, Tallahassee. That's the main game, Queen City, Tallahassee. And it's going to take 35 points to win that game, because Queen City, great offense, Tallahassee, great offense. And I'm not saying they have bad defenses, not at all. But with offenses that strong, I think that it's going to take about 35 to 38 points for any team, either team, to win this game. I'm going to go Queen City. I'm going to predict Queen City to win. I'm not sure if I'm jumping the gun if we are going to do predictions later, but I think that Queen City will win by about 4 points. I have 38 to 34, but it will not surprise me if Tallahassee wins this ball game.
Yeah, that is another good one. That'll be Tuesday night at 7 with Curtis on the call for his second straight called game this season. So great stuff from Curtis. I loved what he did. Despite the sound issues, he has those cleaned up, and he'll be a good asset for us. Alex, which game in week 2 are you looking forward to the most?
I got to agree. I think it's also Baltimore-Tallahassee. These are the only 2 teams. This is the only 2 winning teams that are going against each other. The 1-0 against each other this week. So whoever wins this game is going to come out 2-0. They're the only team that hasn't taken a loss this season. Both teams have fantastic passing offenses, great running offenses. So I also agree. I think it's going to be it's either going to be a shootout of great proportions, or sometimes you get these little weird things where it takes the other turn and it's going to be this weird defensive struggle where neither team can really get anything going till the end. That happens sometimes, and it's always fun to watch.
Yeah, that should be a good one on Tuesday night. I'm looking forward to that one. Mighty, which game are you looking forward to? You play on Sunday night at 3. That'll be Yvonne's first called game, where Sioux Falls travels to you to take you on in Alaska. But which game other than that are you looking forward to in this week's slate? And you're muted, so we can't hear you if you're talking right now.
I wasn't talking. I was letting you finish before I muted
okay.
myself. Yeah, because I was in the midst of an Amber Alert. I don't think I wanted to hear any of that. The matchup that intrigues me the most is 2 teams I truly think that they just ran out of time in week 1, that they did not lose. They just, the clock hit 0 before they were able to really finish the game that they wanted to play. That's that Baltimore at Carolina matchup.
Yeah, that's
Baltimore was on the verge of, pulling off that crazy comeback, and then time expired. Carolina, I'm pretty sure Carolina felt like, had we had an extra 2 or 3 minutes, we could have pulled that one out. And you already know that these are 2 teams, even though that the members have changed, they don't like each other,
Right.
TJ picks on the Skyhawks. the Skyhawks can't stand TJ. So this is a rivalry battle right here.
Yeah.
The loser goes to 0-2. Man, you don't want to go 0-2. Coming back from 0-2 is tough, man. 0-2, you're looking up the rear of everybody. Pun intended on that one. Just terrible. Nobody wants to be there. So
yeah.
That's the matchup I'm keeping my eye on right now.
I'm with you. Johnny English went down early in that game. I think with him back, if he can play the full game, I don't know if Baltimore's going to be able to keep him in check, especially after I don't think had a touchdown in the first week. He's going to be hungry for those yards that he missed out on when he was injured.
But you know what they always say, though? The great teams never lose. They just run out of time.
That's another fair point. So the week 2 slate, if you guys weren't able to see it, Sunday we open at 3 p.m. Central, 4 Eastern. Sioux Falls heading to Alaska. Simultaneously on Rabbit, the other 4 games will be going on. Vancouver at Oklahoma City, Mexico City at San Antonio, St. Louis heads to Chicago, Cleveland will head to Atlanta. Then Sunday at 7 Central, 8 Eastern, Cam is on the call for Houston and Dallas, the first game of the Texas trifecta. Then the next day on Monday at 7 Central, 8 Eastern, Eric Vincent is on the call when Baltimore heads to Carolina. 2 winless teams try and get their first win in Carolina. And then on Tuesday at 7 Central, 8 Eastern, Curtis is on the call for the Battle of the Undefeateds as Queen City takes on Tallahassee in Florida. I think, unless anyone has any objections, we're probably going to call the show there. We've gone for about an hour, and that's usually what we try and keep it to. I will remind everyone, if they could get their power rankings in, all you do is go to simulationfl.net, go to the power rankings tab, which I'm attempting to do here as my internet slows down. There we go. You're going to scroll to the bottom, and then you're just going to hit the Submit Your Rankings Here button. Click on that, and then you will just type in the rankings that you want, and then we will get those going. I believe they're coming out on Friday, is what I heard from Andrew. So I think that'll do it for us. If everyone wants to do our famous one last thing, we'll start at the back end of seniority. Alex, if you wouldn't mind going first, give one last thing to the people as we call this show to an end.
Say that again.
Just give us one last thing for the people before we end the show.
Sorry, people are moving around. First, finish first weekend in watching the SFL. I definitely look forward to seeing more great games from this league. Very interesting setup, in my opinion. Just intriguing. I mean, I love it. I love it. Love it to death.
Awesome. And then we'll go to me, since I am the next least on the list. I look for Carolina to have a big week. And, I think those Rabbit games will be interesting, but I'm really excited to hear Yvonne on his first call when Sioux Falls heads to Alaska. So make sure to check out all the action this week as we spread the SFL in week 2 over 3 days instead of just 2. Mighty, I believe you're next up, correct?
Yes, and what I want to see is the teams that are a little more specialized. Can they keep it going, or can they finally get it going? I'm talking about your Sioux Falls, your San Antonios, your OKCs, where their builds are kind of a little restrictive because of how they went about, putting their teams together. Can they bounce back or keep it going this week against, their new matchup, who now has footage on them, and, now they have footage themselves to go back and study to kind of fix what was askew. So it's going to be interesting to see what's going on there, at least for this week for me.
Fair point. Ramos, you are the most senior member of the panel, so give us your one last thing for week 2.
I'm just waiting for a few very, very great games. Good luck to everybody. Good luck to everybody. I think that week 2 is going to be very different from week 1. Now that everybody, the expansion teams and obviously us as well, Mexico City, Alaska, after 1 week, we'll polish things, and hopefully we can have a good slate of games this week, and go Aztecs.
All right, from everyone on the SFL podcast, that's a wrap. We'll see you guys later in week 2. Peace.
Peace.
See ya. Thank you for having me.